Hey guys, it's Pete from Beef Anxiety here. Welcome to today's episode. I appreciate y'all being here so much. Let's talk about a few things real quick. The Pete vs. Anxiety Team Anxiety Facebook group. Are you a part of it? You're not? What are you waiting for? The link's down here in the description down below, or go to Facebook and search Pete vs. Anxiety, then look for the Team Anxiety team page and join it today. Why not? You can join and help. It'll be great. Yeah, like right now. Hurry up. Stop what you're doing, pause this video, go do it right now. But anyways, let's also talk about the Pete vs. Anxiety YouTube page. If you're here right now, you're probably following it most likely. If not, head on over there, subscribe, be sure to like and comment on the videos and let me know, because all that stuff really helps, guys. I really appreciate it. And help me break the stigma that mental health is talked about enough. But anyways, guys, let's get into today's episode. I'll have a great one. Thank you so much again. And as I always say, don't ask how your day is, ask how your mental health is today. Guys, welcome to an exciting episode of Pete vs. Anxiety here on the Oracle Talk Radio Network. My guest today is an author, a publisher, an author, the founder of HelpHUB, three-time suicide loss survivor. Geez, if I can get my words right today. Trevor Project crisis counselor, nationally syndicated columnist, storyteller with the National Alliance on Mental Health, safe place survivor of suicide loss grief group facilitator with Samaritans, LGBTQ plus, survivor of suicide loss grief support group facilitator with Samaritans, and a mental health advocate. Please welcome in the one, the only, Lisa Sugarman. Also, Lisa is actually the co-host of the Survivors podcast as well. Now we're done with the title. Lisa, thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thanks, Pete. Thanks for having me. I appreciate
it. Now that we jumbled through that whole introduction, how are you doing? Over there. That was such a good intro.
Great.
Jesus.
I'm doing great.
Well, it's so great to have you here.
I'm just glad to be
here. That was funny. It sounds like never fumbled so hard through the opening entrance ever in my life. Anyways, it's so great to hear. Like, with all that being said, Jesus, why don't you tell everybody a little more about yourself?
Yeah, sure. So I think you did a pretty dynamite job. I'm a mental health advocate. I guess that's kind of the overarching title you could give me in the world these days. And that includes being a crisis counselor. I'm a crisis counselor on the Trevor Project Lifeline. I am also, you mentioned, a grief group facilitator. I write a ton of content that goes out into the world in so many different places and platforms. I wrote a column for many, many years. I'm a contributor on a lot of the bigger mental health platforms. And you said I founded the HelpHUB, which is a special place in my heart.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's amazing. I checked it out.
It has that baby that you grow. So everything I do, thank you. Everything I do is dedicated to really just kind of shattering the stigma around suicide.
Right. Yeah, it's so awesome. I love it. I love your guys' Survivor podcast, too. It's really great. I think what y'all are doing is having a powerful conversation that not a lot of people want to talk about because, especially when it comes to losing lives, people get panicked really easily. You're still there? I think we lost you for a second.
Yeah, for sure. It's the taboo thing that nobody wants to touch, and we're trying really. Yeah, I think we have like a glitchy little signal. I think we keep tripping on each other's words.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's kind of weird. Are we good now? This has been a hell of a day already.
Yeah, I think so. You have me, I've got you.
Okay.
We'll make it worth it, Pete.
Right, definitely. So how did you and Gretchen meet, though? I mean, I know that she does the shit that goes on her head. And then she had mentioned when I had interviewed her that she was doing the side project with you. And I was like, oh, I'm interested in that, too.
Yeah, it was just one of those things that happened. Neither one of us expected it to happen. I was invited to be a guest on shit that goes on in our heads. And you're a podcast host. You know that a lot of the time, a host and a guest will do a pre-call before an interview just to kind of vet each other, make sure everybody's in alignment with what they want to talk about. And that was the case. We had a pre-call and it was with just the two of us. And that's usually designed to be like 15 to 20 minutes, give or take. And ours was probably 2.5 hours. And we just clicked immediately, vibed immediately. We had like the same mission and vision in our hearts around suicide, but we came at it from two very unique and different perspectives. So she's an attempt survivor, and I'm a 3-time survivor of suicide loss, and we're both mental health advocates, and I'm a crisis counselor on the crisis lines. So we had all of these cool vantage points to jump into the suicide conversation. And it became clear within the first few minutes of us talking that very first time, it became completely clear that we needed to do something together. We just didn't know what that was. So I ended up on our podcast, and we decided to meet and talk again, which was again another 2-3 hour long conversation to kind of flesh things out. And what we came up with, me always wanting to do a podcast, but not really finding the right time to jump into it. And asked, and we'll call it the Survivors. And
Okay. Yeah, well, that's so cool, though. I mean, I instantly clicked her, too, when I met her the first time. We just had a blast. The whole conversation between the two of us, we literally just went on. We could have kept going forever. Like, honestly, the two of us were just going back and
did I
forth the
lose you,
whole
Pete?
time. I know, did you lose me? Am I still there? Are you still there? Sorry, guys. We're having a little technical
Did I
difficulty.
lose you?
You still there? Can you still hear me? Lisa, did I lose you? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can
You know,
hear you. You got me?
okay. All right, cool. Sorry, guys. We are having some technical difficulties right now. Sorry,
I
me and
can hear
Lisa are trying to work through it. Anyways, but yeah, the two of us got into it. We just went back and forth to start. But she's so easy to have a conversation with, though. That was the great thing about it. It's like when I met her, we were just having a great time the whole time. And then afterwards, she had told me a little bit about what you guys are working on. And I was like, hell yeah, that's a great idea. So, I think that what you guys are doing is really powerful, though, because you, with all your experience, you can give that advice to people, though, because you know what to do in those situations. Gretchen being in that situation, she can tell people what her experience is. And I think that's what brings a lot of people in, is that the fact that she's willing to share that story with people. And, when people hear other people's stories, usually what it is that gets them hooked a lot of times. And then with you having the expertise there, you can help them through with some of that stuff. Like, hey guys, these are some things you can do in these situations, And I think that's a great pairing for you guys, because it's one holds hands with the other one. You have the survivor and the lost survivor, kind of going together and everything like that. And unified force. So I think your message is really strong. I think that what you're doing is great. Like all the different hats you wear, it's just like, Jesus almighty, man. I was reading through your profile and I was just like, holy crap, dude, this woman does a lot. So, but
I
hats off.
appreciate that. I don't
Hats off
sleep
to
a
you,
lot,
man.
Pete.
I don't either. But it's okay. Listen, at least you're
Thank
doing good. I'm doing
you.
good. So, I mean,
That's the whole point, right?
exactly. And it's
We do
so
the good
great,
we can do in the world.
right? And it's so interesting though. Like, what got you into all that though? I mean, you're taking a lot on. You're always putting something out there. You're on all these different. You're at the National Mental Health Alliance. That's an interesting one too. All these different things. What got you to be a part of these kind of things?
Not the thing that you ever want to get you to be a part of something like this. So, I mean, you said it in my intro that I'm a 3-time survivor of suicide loss, and one of those losses was my dad. But my story's it's a little unusual. So, when I was 9 years old, I lost a cousin who died by suicide, and it was my first experience with death. It was my first experience with suicide. A year later, when he was 45, my dad died of what I was told was a heart attack, and that was what I lived with. That was a narrative I lived with until I was 45 years old. So for 35 years, I thought my dad died of a heart attack, and then I found out the truth, that he had actually died by suicide. And somewhere in the middle there, about 4 years ago, my husband and I grew up together, and one of our best childhood friends died by suicide very unexpectedly. So it just was this this trifecta of suicide in my life. And it really just it just shifted something. It just changed something. I didn't feel like the work I was doing was authentic anymore. I just felt like I had all this lived experience. I had this story, and I had this understanding now on a deeper level of what it meant to be a survivor. And I just felt like I needed to do something with it, as much for myself as for my dad's legacy and memory, and for the other people out there in the world who are struggling. So I just kind of found my way. There was no path, Pete. Like
Yeah.
there was no course that I wasn't following any particular, path to where I am now. It really was honestly very organic. And I just started saying yes to things. Like I started saying yes to sharing my story, which led to writing about my story, which led to, well, what else can I do? And I want to be on the phone lines helping people. So I got trained to be a crisis counselor and then a group moderator. And then the podcast happened. I have another book coming out. We're just finishing it this week, actually, in editorial. It's a story of losing my dad twice in my life. So everything came from the thing that came before it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. That's how this show even became an exception, is that I have my own issues I've dealt with for so many years. I never wanted to face the problem. And then I've been through a lot of things, I had my own suicide attempts and things like that. I was almost married to a narcissist for 15 years, and it was brutal. And then when you bring kids into the thing, then the kids got mixed and everything, and it's a complete clusterfuck of a mess, So, and now here I am now, creating this safe space for people to come talk about this subject. I invite other people like yourself to come on, so people get to meet people like yourselves and hear the things that you're doing out there, so people know that they're not alone. There is help out there for people, and hey, where can they get help? Well, here, Lisa's got a great one. HelpHUB is phenomenal. I looked at it before we interviewed, and I have to say, holy fuck, that is great. Like, what you did is so amazing. If you have anybody needs help, go to this site. I am telling you right now, you will not be disappointed. It has everything you need. That question of where do I find something? HelpHUB's your answer right now. I'm telling you right now, it has everything in there that you need to figure out exactly what you need next. And I'm sorry to hear about your dad. That's crazy though, because you thought for so many years he had a heart attack, and then you find out the real reason is that he ended up taking his own life. So that changes the perspective of everything then, because it's like, whoa, hold on, wait, you just lied to me all my life, and now you tell me these things. It's intense, man.
Yeah.
But
It was a lot. It was a lot. And it's like, it's not something you ever just finish dealing with. I'll always be dealing with it. There are so many different pieces to it that, that kind of surface after time. And look, we're always grieving. There's no end to it. And I grieved one way for, 35 years. And now I'm grieving another way. And now I have a different identity. Now I'm a survivor, which I was not before. And so there's a lot to come to terms with. And I mean, with my dad, he was one of those people who you would never have known that anything was wrong with my dad. He just presented in such a positive, joyful, uplifted way that the idea years to even just like compute that. Do you know what I mean? To even
because you've always asked me that question.
That might be true.
Well, because the next question would be like, why did he do it if he was so happy?
The whole thing is just, because there was underlying mental illness there that my mother didn't know, that I was 10, so I certainly didn't know. His family didn't know. No one he worked with, no friends. No one had an idea that my father was struggling the way that he was struggling. And that's the whole reason why I created the HelpHUB, so that when someone is in that frame of mind and they're so isolated in their own head and in those thought loops that are so toxic, they don't have the capacity to reach out for help or to pick and choose who to go to for help, or even to know where to find it. So I just wanted to kind of put help in a place where anyone could access it. It was a click away and people could find when they needed it most. And that really was the impetus for that. So I'm grateful that it's taken on such a life of its own, and I continue to work on it constantly. I'm announcing a huge partnership with recovery.com this week, hopefully, and people will be able to find even more opportunities for help and healing and pathways to treatment through this collaboration. So it continues to just explode in ways that I never expected. And I'm so grateful.
Yeah, I bet, because it's amazing, because you're answering that cry for everybody needs help, where they can get help. Well, here you go. Go to this site. One Stop Shop has everything in there, one spot for you. You don't have to search for something, And I know a lot of people don't like to look for things. And like you said, for people that don't want to ask other people for help, this is a great resource for them to go to, and they can sit there and get whatever help they think they need, and just kind of go from there. At least be with somebody, with a professional of some sort, that can help them and guide them to the right path of where they need to go. Because I think a lot of people are scared to ask for help. It's because they're not sure how people are going to react when you tell them, "Oh, well, I'm thinking about killing myself." Like, most people are going to freak out about that. They're like, whoa, hold on. What do you mean? Like, you need to stop thinking like that, And I wish that's how it worked. I wish we could just tell each other, "Hey, stop doing these things," because, that's great advice to give. But, like, it's hard for some of us. Sometimes that thought just starts racing through your head, and you need to know how to deal with that problem, and this is where you've come to answer that question for people, and it's great, because, like, I know when I was looking for help, it was hard too, because it's like, well, where do I go? And where's my first step to go if I don't know what my deal is exactly in the first place? I got to find someone to start helping me figure out the path of where I need to go, and HelpHUB answers that question for you. You can go in there, kind of get your research and everything else you need, all the different information, and start trying to figure out what your next step is, And at least this way now, you figure it out, because it's so hard to find mental health care in most states, and, for me, it was hard to find stuff too when I was looking for things, and I was like, this is crazy. I need help. I should be able to find it just as easy as I find a doctor. You have all these different sites to find doctors. Where the hell's the one for us to find all the mental health stuff we need? Oh, hold on, realize Lisa, she's coming back. Sorry, guys, we are having some technical difficulties. I am not sure what is going on today. It's just not my day today. There you go. You there?
Hey there.
Hey, welcome back.
It booted me out. It just kicked me right out.
Yeah, this is so weird. I've never had this many problems in an episode. Oh, wait, I've had one before, but it was during a really bad storm. But it's not storming out there. So, but like I was saying though, is it's just like, I think what you've created is basically the one-stop shop for everything. Like, we can find doctors everywhere. And I like help. I like what you're doing with the HelpHUB thing, because, like I said, when I started my journey, I couldn't find anything. Like, I'm like, where the hell do I go first? But at least this one answers that question. You come in with, well, there you go, check out HelpHUB. And now I can use it as my own resource for people. Hey, listen, go check out this site, HelpHUB, man. I got a friend that made it, real great site. She's got everything where you want it. She's constantly updating it. So now I'm going to use it in my tools for, helping other people out, and making sure I put it everywhere I can for people. Hey, listen, you got help. You need some help. Check out HelpHUB. So I appreciate you doing all that, and then you got the books coming out. Girl, you got a lot going on.
There's a lot happening. My days are busy, let's put it that way. But first of all, I got to just say, I think you need to be my new PR guy, because
I'm down.
The way you just promoted the HelpHUB, like, I want you to just do all my ads from now on, because that was just outstanding.
I'm down.
I appreciate you just being willing to share it as a resource. And yeah, it's been mind blowing for me to see what people have thought about it, and how people have used it, and how people have integrated it into their own platforms. And I'm incredibly humbled that people are using it the way it was intended. So.
Yeah, no, definitely. Like I said, I'm a big advocate for that, because that was the thing, is when I needed help, I didn't know where to go. But now I have a source for other people to go, because people ask me all the time, like, hey, what can you do? I'm like, first it was like, you go find somebody to talk to or whatever. But now I can go, well, check out this thing, HelpHUB, man. It'll help you out real well. Trust me. And then just hand it off to them. Like, here you go, and stuff like that too. And it's funny you say that though, because everybody says I'm the master networker in our little group. That's what our good friend Melissa likes to tell everybody. So she's working on another project too, that she said that.
That's great. Well, I can see that to be true.
right? I'll listen. I'm glad. I'll do the ads for you. I got you. Listen, hey guys, it's Pete. If you need help,
I
just start
appreciate it.
coming God, what does that dude now? Dude does the Colonial Life commercials now.
Right.
That's
You're my
gonna be
new
me
Colonial
now.
Life guy.
There you go. Right.
Yeah.
So I had a question though for you though. Like, what got you started writing all your stories and everything? Is it just something you've always been passionate about? Is it? I know that you fell into this because of your dad's situation, and then your friend who lost her life as well, things like that. And what made you finally do that final push to be the voice that's out there, like, hey guys, this is where we need to get our help at, because without HelpHUB, I don't think we'd be as far as we are now, though, if you think about it, because you have everything in one place. But what got you to start doing HelpHUB? Is it just those losses that just kept going? You're like, well, we got to stop this now. This is crazy.
I mean, that was a big part of it for sure. But I think for me, I had a different perspective as a crisis counselor. So I've been a
Yeah.
crisis counselor with the Trevor Project for about 3 years now. So I'm in that position where somebody who may be suicidal or homicidal or dealing with some major mental health crisis picks up the phone, doesn't know where to turn. They call us, and I'm the person who one of the people who answers that call and helps to regulate that person and give them resources and a safety plan and de-escalate them and all of the things that happen during that kind of a call. So I think it was really an accumulation of my time spent in that role on that line, realizing that there are so many amazing platforms and resources and tools out there in the world, especially in the mental health world. But it's really overwhelming. It's hard to know where to go. It's hard to even know when you're in that state of mind what you need and how to
Yeah.
get it. So I would hand people off different resources. And the benefit that I had of doing the work that I did was that I spoke to everyone in every kind of community from every demographic with any kind of mental health challenge. And I started to see these patterns. And the pattern I saw the most often was we all grieve, we all have depression, we all experience death at times, we all experience different forms of crises, but the way that we experience them all is so different depending on who we are in the world, like what community you're in, what your background is, what your belief system might be. And I realized that what we needed to start doing was accumulating resources for people based on the community that they were in, because what you might need in the BIPOC community might be different than the Latinx community, might be different than a veteran might need, or someone in the AAPI community might need. And so I started separating everything out. I was on this crazy hunt for all the best resources I could find. And I just kept adding to this massive list. But then the list was ridiculous. You couldn't even scroll through it. It was so massive. And so I broke it down. And one of my daughters, actually, who's a communications major in college, said, Mom, why don't you break it down by category? Like, she could see patterns and things that I couldn't. And she said, why don't you just do it in categories? And so I identified it ended up being probably 18 categories by now of different communities. And so each one of those communities has a dedicated page where you can find an alphabetized list of resources that are specific to that community. So you know that what you're getting is going to suit your unique needs. And maybe it's therapy, maybe it's mindfulness, maybe it's online counseling, maybe it's crisis support, maybe it's a tool, but it's specific to what you need. And I really just broke my own website down to the studs and rebuilt it as the HelpHUB. And I've just been building on that ever since.
Yeah, that's awesome. And the fact that you're continuously updating it just shows how dedicated you are to it too. New things that you're trying to get, bring other things in, like like you were just telling us that hopefully you have the announcement soon for the other thing coming up, and that's so awesome though. I mean, for you to take all that time to spend all that time doing all that stuff, that says a lot about you right there. That means speaks volume of your character beyond belief, because you spend all that time to look and make sure you have it specifically catered to what everybody would need, because everybody has different needs. And I think it's great because
Mhm.
it's kind of like, we can find doctors everywhere, but now we can find the mental health we need that fits what our situation is, whether, it's one of those categories of where you're looking for. All you got to do is click and it's right there at your fingertips. So, and I think it's really fantastic. I really do. It's something so unique that, like, when I started looking at it, I was like, dude,
Thank
this is
you.
really cool
Thank
how they
you.
broke it down. And then you start seeing all these different categories. I'm like, ooh, where do I go first? Like and it was very interesting. Needless to say, though, but I think you can see the love in it, though, because the fact that you've taken the time to break down these categories and things like that, I can only imagine what that list looked like just right beforehand. It's a never-ending list,
It was
God.
insane. It really was. It was like a 20, sure, it was just alphabetized A to Z, but you didn't even know what you needed to look for
Yeah,
because there was just so much content there. So, yeah, it's definitely been a labor of love. And it's one of those things, it was the most organic and beautiful project. It just really kind of it happened. I was just paying attention to the right thing at the right time and saw a gap. I saw a gap in the way that we can source our information. And it seemed silly to me to have to go to 27 different places to find information. Doesn't it make more sense to have it under one roof? And so I built it.
yeah, definitely. Yeah. That is the thing too, that you have to go so many different places to find something, and no one's thought of this idea beforehand. It's like, why not put it all in one stop? I don't get it. Why, But it took one person to realize, like, hey, this is stupid. I don't want to go 20 places. Let me just be right here where everything I want is at my fingertips. Like, and there it is. There it is. Help Hub is there now for it. So, but I mean, that's so crazy, though, because if you think about it, like, we all talk about mental health. We blame mental health for everything, like all these school shootings. Okay, well, it's mental health's fault. Then, all right, so what are you doing about the problem? Oh, no, we're just going to sweep down over it. It's okay. We're going to blame guns or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever the object was used. It's like that object's inanimate. It doesn't make a decision. The person makes that decision, and then it's like you want to ban guns for the people that are responsible, even
Yep.
though it's
Yep.
one person that fucked it up for everybody. It's like you make no sense. You're blaming the wrong thing. You're blaming an object versus the person, and then you're claiming it's this issue, but then you don't want to talk about the elephant in the room. You just want to get it out of the room, and it doesn't make any sense. But why do people do that, though? Is it because they're so afraid of mental health? Is it because the things we've heard about it? I don't think people know enough. Let me be honest with you right now. I don't think people know hardly enough about mental health. I know I didn't before I started this podcast. And when I started really doing my research and a lot of other stuff, and people, my guests coming in and researching some of the conditions they were dealing with, I was just like, I was so fascinated because I'm like, there's so much I didn't know. And I think that's what it is too, a little bit, is that people are scared to change. When you get to that point of when you start talking about things they don't understand, they get scared instantly. Oh, well, God, I don't know what that is. And it goes for any kind of community, really. If you think about it, they all freak out about that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I think it's really just goes right back to stigma. Like nothing has ever been stigmatized the way that something like suicide or mental illness has been stigmatized.
Yeah,
It has not been treated the way it should be treated, which is an illness. Like you would never, ever, ever stigmatize someone who had cancer or who had lung disease or who was injured in a car crash and lost the ability to walk. You would never
yeah,
stigmatize that person because of the injury or the illness that they endured. But we do that almost exclusively with mental illness, which of course is so deeply attached to suicide because that's a byproduct of depression, which is a byproduct of mental illness. So it's only recently, like in the last handful of years even, that it's become such a mainstream conversation, which is great that we are now talking about it in the ways that we should be and as often, and people are getting vulnerable. But I think that such a big part of our government is so just afraid to put any resources into it, afraid to legitimize it for what it really
right.
is, because it would actually solve all the problems if people did, or maybe not all, but a hell of a lot of them, I think.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's funny though because it's mostly made up of older generation, and the generation gap between how they looked at things then versus now is way different, and it's funny because they want to say, oh, well, cry wolf, this is the problem, mental health, mental health. But then you don't want to address it. You're scared of it for a reason. I don't know what they're so worried about is fixing people. So we stop having these tragedies. We stop losing people for these reasons, and especially men, just to highlight that real fast, men, 80% of us, it's like, one, if you're in a group of 5, 3 of those guys are probably not going to be here. They're all going to probably end up taking their life for some reason, at that point. And we, you don't know which one it is. It's a game of Russian roulette over there now. And you have to worry about that because, like you said, your dad was really happy. No one even had an idea. You didn't even know. We don't know what people are thinking. We could try all day, but, unless they know that they're not feeling like they're a burden and things like that, it's just hard to stop that kind of thing. And then the fact that we as men don't talk about it enough, it's just insane. It's like, guys, how much more do we have to lose before we start saying something here? Like, what are you so afraid of that, you think about it. Like I said, the statistics are there. Your group of friends, most likely most of your friends won't be there in a while. If we don't start talking about this now, what more do you need to see in this picture? And in that whole thing about alpha male, I think is kind of stupid. If you're an alpha male, and you can't talk about your feelings, then how are you the alpha male then? If you're the complete man, like the guy everyone wants to be, why are you not complete though? You're incomplete if you think about it, because if you can't talk about this area, then what makes you alpha then? I think that makes you less of the alpha. The alpha would be the guy that does it all. He can talk about his feelings and all that stuff and have a general conversation, but that's just me. I think that's just how you should look at it. To me, when you say alpha, you do that
guys are typecast.
Yep. True.
You guys are typecast. You're stereotyped, and you didn't have a choice. It's a lot like mental illness. It's the way that people talk about it. It's the word choice. It's the attitude around it. And I think for guys, you've all been raised with this belief system, this machismo bullshit, and this, never asking for help, and don't cry, and don't show your feelings, and don't be sensitive, and don't be emotional. It's like, I'm so sorry for you guys that you have to be stigmatized. And then it goes right back to the same word, which is stigma. And that's what's interesting? Stigma is associated to things that are more abstract. Yeah. So mental illness is abstract. It's not, you can see a cancer, you can see on an x-ray, you can see someone who's been caught in an accident and who's been paralyzed. Like, these are tangible things that you can see. You can see a gunshot victim. But when you're talking about somebody's mental health, it's so subjective and it's so abstract, and it scares people to death because it's so unpredictable.
I think that too, and I think it's that what we don't know enough, so we call everybody crazy. Everybody's crazy. Oh, this person's crazy, that person's crazy. But are they crazy, or is it they have something wrong with them? Like, they're all like, oh, that person, or instantly they're some kind of drug addict. It's like, are they though? Or is it that they have a problem that no one wants to deal with? Everybody knows the person, but they just let it it's kind of like, What's Eating Gilbert Grape, or Arnie, how they all just kind of say, oh, that's just Arnie, doing whatever. So they just kind of ignored it. That Arnie's kind of like the mental health issue now. And they're just like, oh, okay, yeah, that's just whatever. They just act like they know what's going on, but they don't know what's going on. And I think that's what scares people, is that when they find out that someone has one of these things, they go first to whatever they've been told all these years and whatever the internet tells them and all this other stuff, instead of actually doing research. But we research everything else, though, mind you. Keep that in mind. We research everything else, but we can't research this one topic. And then as soon as suicidal thoughts come up and something like that comes, it scares the hell out of them so bad that they're like, oh God, I got to stay away from this. It's kind of like, people that are homophobic, they're like, they shy away. And it's like, why? They're not doing anything different. You're mad because someone doesn't fit your ideal life or how you want them to be. Like, let them be them, and if they have mental health issues, don't judge people because you don't understand what those people deal with. Hell, people with BPD, man, when I started doing some research on that one, because somebody had told me, oh, I have BPD. I'm like, what the hell is that? And she's like, she was explaining a little bit to me. Then I went and looked at it and I was just like, holy shit, dude. This is what you deal with on a daily basis? Holy crap. And then I've had people on the show that have had BPD. And it's interesting because, like, reading books are great, but when you're looking at it in front of you, when people's actually telling you what they experience, it's so fascinating to hear what everybody's experience with it is. And I'm so interested all the time because I'm like, okay, so let me know how it is for you, though, because you just start seeing that everybody's has different things. So like there's the book that tells you like, hey, these are some of the symptoms. And I think people take that and run with it too much. They're like, oh, well, this is what it looks like. No. This is the guideline to what is some things these guys deal with. Now, what they feel and what they have it's how they present it differently. And that was an interesting thing too, as I was getting different people on that had it. And some of these people I didn't even know until they told me. And I was like, oh, this is interesting. So can I ask you what it's about? And like, I'm always so curious to know more. And I think somebody got upset one time in one episode I did. She was talking about she was sexually abused, and I was like, apparently she trying to tell people that I was creepy because I was asking questions. No, I'm asking questions because I'm trying to better understand like how people viewed this situation, like what was going on, like all the right things you would do. It's a good interview. You'd ask questions about things, try and get the conversation going, get some information out there for other people that may feel that, hey, I've been in this situation. What did you do to get through this situation? And I was just like, okay, like, nobody believed it, honestly. After I heard what was being said, the person that was saying was basically crying wolf for no reason because they didn't like me for some reason. God forbid. I'm just like, okay, well, you don't like me. There's the door. I don't know what to tell you. I mean, I'm just me. I'm just asking questions. I'm being a good interviewer. I invited you to come on. Of course, I'm going to ask you about the situation because I just want to, get a little more information about what was going on and like, hey, how do people, what the whole scenario was? Because, with that kind of situation, you want to get as much information out for other people that hear the story that come, okay, well, now I want to come tell my story because, this person was willing to share theirs, And I think, it was just like, they're just one of those real toxic type people that you didn't see at first, but then you started noticing little ticks as it started showing up. And it was just like, it was ridiculous because it's like, you're not going to make me seem like I'm the one that's a weirdo because I'm doing my job as a host, asking you the right questions. Now, you didn't have to answer those. I already tell people all the time, especially when it comes to that subject, listen, if I ask you a question, you don't want to answer it, just let me know, hey, listen, I'm running to talk about that. And then we'll move right on or give me a signal and then we're gone. We're out leaving the subject and running. I'll stir away the conversation from that. I'm always very respectful of anybody. So, but I just found it so funny that they were trying to attack me for that.
Yeah. Yeah. That's unfortunate. And there's nothing you can't ask me
right.
For the record.
Yeah. But what I'm saying? Like, I'm very respectful when it comes to that. I just think it's a touchy subject for a lot of people. Especially that because you have to relive the whole thing. So, and then when I invite people to come on the show, I strictly tell them the same thing. I said, there is something you don't want to tell me to talk about. You tell me right now. We'll leave it. And off the air, I'll ask them those questions too. Like, listen, is there something I need to stay away from? Let me know. And just kind of give me a little pathway of where I need to stay away from. And I'll stay away from those areas. Like, I had, God, what is her name now? She was labeled the FBI sleep doctor because she works for the FBI. And we were talking about it off air. And she's like, hey, listen, we really can't say much. I'm like, oh, no, I got you. I said, we'll just mention it brief. We'll go to touch the subject and we're jumping out of that subject right away because like, I'm not trying to upset a federal organization. First off, no need for all that kind of stuff. We're just going to touch on that. That's kind of the work you do. And then we're going to jump to another conversation away from it kind of thing, and it's very tricky to navigate sometimes, and things like that too. But it's always interesting to hear people's stories about things because we had a guy on the show, the old shit moment of the year, still the old shit moment of the year. It's a gentleman by the name of Brian. He came on the show and he was talking to me. And then 30 minutes into this conversation, he goes, Pete, can I tell you something? I'm like, yeah, man, go ahead. Talk to me, Hey, man, this morning I was sitting at the edge of the bed. I had the gun in my hand and I'm just thinking, oh God, here we go. Because I didn't know what he was going to say next. In my head, I'm freaking out. The camera, I'm just kind of keeping it cool because I'm like, all right, this guy is talking about some serious things here. Oh God, please don't get us canceled on YouTube right now. Because, I don't know what YouTube allows you to talk about. And at this point, I was just like, let's go for it. Let's see what it is. But for him to come out and tell us that was so powerful because I had like 15 to 20 messages afterwards of people just going, oh my God, is he okay? I'm like, yeah, he's actually doing real fine. We and him were messaging for a while afterwards. I had a great time. Thank you for letting me come. But it had such a knee-jerk reaction to people. They freaked out because they were like, oh my God, this guy's talking about how he almost killed himself that morning before the interview. He's like, I was sitting on the edge of the bed giving us a full description. And I'm like, yeah, that's how this conversation goes usually, guys. Like, you don't know what they're going to say, but, you sitting there listening to him, it's rather helpful too, because at least they're talking to you, especially he's a man and he's talking to you. We're already winning right there in that battle right there. At least he talked to us about it, and Brian's doing great now. But he still owns the oh shit moment of the year on the show because that was the craziest moment that we've had because he started talking about it, goes back to the subject, and people are just freaking out that bad, all because he just told his own thoughts that were going on in his head.
Yeah, that's a moment for sure.
At least it's like, yeah. Well, we've had a couple of the moments too. We had one where we were talking about narcissism, one episode, me and another podcaster host I was on called You Have the Power. And apparently people said that like 30 minutes into the interview, they had to stop because it was hitting so close to home. And then like, there you go. We're winning right there. If we're hitting close to home, that's good. I want you to understand that we've been through those things. We know what it's like, and if you're feeling that and you feel that strongly about it, that means that we did the right. We had the right conversation for y'all, because we want you all to know that, we know what you're feeling. A lot of people feel trapped when it comes to those situations too, and all those kind of things. And I don't shy away from any conversation, to be honest with you. I'll talk about everything on this show. I don't care, and there's no limitations I won't go to, because I feel like, this is the safe space. This whole thing is a safe space for us to talk about whatever we want. We can talk about whatever you want. You coming out, you want to come out of the closet and talk about your experience coming out and telling people that you're openly gay. Let's go right ahead, because I'm a big supporter of that community too. My brother's transgender. I've been his biggest support system since day one and still are to this day. Things like that don't start away from me, man. I don't care. I love all that stuff. I love talking to people just because I love hearing their stories, because I'm so fascinated. I had a whole conversation for how long about astrology. Let me tell you, we could have gone for hours on that one.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Have you ever had your birth chart read before, Lisa?
I have not. No, my grandmother used to kind of, air quotes, my grandmother used to read cards, and I will never have anybody but her read for me.
The birth chart was an interesting thing when we did it, though. I thought it found it very fascinating, because we and Carmen Turner had done an episode together where she had read mine. We were discussing mine while we were recording the episode. And it was interesting to see the things where stuff landed. And it made a lot of sense about my personality, of things I didn't really understand. She's like, you have this ability to draw things out of people. And it's like, I've always wondered why that was. Like, people come and meet me in person, will come talk to me, and they'll start telling me things. Like, they'll just start telling me things that they normally wouldn't tell anybody. And I couldn't figure out why that was. I was like, why is this? This is really weird. And I was like, and then she's like, yeah, this is what's in your chart. Your chart says is that, you have this, your planetary alignment, where one of the houses it landed in is one of those where, for whatever reason, people come and tell you things. That's why. And it's like, okay, well, that's pretty interesting, because I'm a Cancer, and you go into all the deeper things. Your Cancer, your moon's this, your planetary alignments are here for certain things. Like, like Venus was in a certain position. So that's why I have more female friends than I have male friends, which, makes sense, because it was so close to the heart. So I could see why, you only want your grandmother ever doing anything for you, because it's like, they get really personal really quick, man. If someone does it right, they can hit the thoughts in your head really close, and you don't even realize it until they're reading that they know what you're thinking.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
It's very fascinating. So
what else can I share with you? What other questions do you have for me?
Listen, so your books. I'm curious about how you started your book, though. I'm fascinated, because I'm starting my own book. Okay, this is the reason I'm asking, because I am starting my own memoir. What would you suggest for me to do as writing a book? Like, where should I start? Just kind of map it out, things like that. I mean, you're right here in front of me. You've published a book already. You got another book coming. What advice should I need?
I've done this for every book I've published. I've done the same kind of basic exercise every time, and it's worked well for me. It's writing a proposal. It's writing a book proposal. Like, you're pitching your book to a publisher. You got to find out, look inward. Who am I writing this book for? Who's my audience? What is my overarching message? What are the points I want to get across? Write your introduction. Do that as an exercise. Write your introduction to this book to help you really identify what it is you're trying to say in this book, and how you're going to say it. That's every book. I mean, this will be book number 4, and I've done it this way every time.
Yeah. That's good advice, though, because I was trying to think about how to start it. I'm like, I know the title is called The Voice of the Voiceless, and it's basically a memoir about my own life. Like, I don't tell a lot of people about myself, but I've been always talking about how I want to write a book about my own story, like the full details, all the deep stuff I don't tell people about, things like that. So I have all these authors on the show, and I've been talking about it for a while now. I'm just like, forget it. You know what? I started a podcast. I just jumped in it. I'm like, I'm just going to jump and do this. Why not? Let's go for it. Why not? It'd be great to say I have a book I published on my own, and things like that. Is it going to upset some people? Probably, because it's my point of view at the end of the day. So, And I think that's the hardest part of starting. And I think I'm going to start with the intro, like you said, just go with the intro and then see where I go from there and build off of that, and kind of, go on my way there. Cause like it's just something I've always wanted to do. I've been talking about, a lot of people ask about my own story and things like that too. And I don't share a lot of it. I give little tidbits of it out, but I feel like it's time now that, people are asking, I should just go for it and then just put it out there now, and I don't worry about everything else later on down the road, kind of thing like that too. So.
Yeah, that's the way to do it.
So, but yeah. So, real quick, I had to ask you a question though. How did you get into the National Alliance on Mental Health? I was kind of curious about that.
You mean NAMI, National Alliance on Mental Illness?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Sorry. I'm sorry. Sorry. Yes, NAMI.
Yeah. Yeah, that's okay. That's okay. So there's a local chapter here in the Boston area. I'm here just north of Boston. There are hundreds of NAMI chapters all over the country, and each one does the same kind of grassroots work around educating people on mental health and wellness and mental illness. And one of the amazing programs that NAMI facilitates is called a storyteller program, where you get by them as a storyteller in kind of a very NAMI specific kind of way. And you go around to different organizations in whatever region or area that you happen to be in. And you're telling your story. And it might be, in my case, it's being a survivor of suicide loss. Yeah. Or in the case of maybe it's someone who's a caregiver to someone who has had mental illness. Maybe it's a parent who's been caring for a child who had mental illness or substance abuse or whatever it is that you've been challenged with emotionally, either yourself personally or in the way that you support someone close to you, you're telling that story. And so we always tell these stories with two people, and they're typically two very different kinds of stories. And we go to civic organizations, we go to schools, groups and clubs. It's free. So any organization, for instance, I speak an awful lot to crisis intervention teams through, police and first responder organizations. And we go in, and it's a very carefully orchestrated presentation where each person shares their story, and there's a Q&A portion. People can ask us whatever they want to ask us about our experience. And it's a way to just let people who are in the position of supporting children or first responding or educating, it lets them have a different perspective on maybe a mental illness or caring for a loved one or what someone might experience on the other side of a crisis. So that's what NAMI is.
So let me ask you a question though for NAMI. Are there any qualifications for anybody that want to do something like that with NAMI? Because that sounds like something I might want to get into eventually. Go out there, do some speaking to other people about my own experiences about things.
Well, I mean, you have to be trained. So there are training opportunities that come up at a particular time every year. They have a couple of different training sessions. So what you would do is you would find your local branch of NAMI. You just go to NAMI.org and you would look up your local branch, and you would reach out and contact that local branch. And I'm sure I know they all have a storytelling component to them. So you would just ask, say you're interested in getting involved in that particular service that they offer for free, and you'd like to train. And then you go through, it's a pretty rigorous training. It's all online, which is nice because people can do it from anywhere. And then they teach you how to construct your story in a way. It's kind of what happened, how did it impact you, what did you do, what did you learn? There are four pillars of everybody's story, regardless of what you're talking about. And so you learn how to tell your story, and you spend an awful lot of time in kind of a workshop setting virtually working on that, and then learning how to do that according to their guidelines, because they do it the same way for everyone, regardless of what your story is. And that's how you become certified through them to do this for them. And then you have the ability to go around to other, different organizations within your state, that particular state, and chat with people in all different types of venues and share your story.
That's awesome. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, because I'm thinking about it. I was like, after you started telling me about it, I was like, man, that's something I really want to look into. Then maybe that's something I can do. And then, I'll have to reach out and see about getting my training going and stuff like that, because that'd be interesting. Because I think that'd be great. I'd love to get out there and do more speaking to other people and, share my story with them. And I think it's great how they have it broken down, that they help you craft it to the right way, so that way you're kind of going uniform with everybody else. I do love that a lot, though. So. Well, we're at the portion of the show where I ask everybody the same question.
Yeah, there's a lot of great guidance.
Yeah. That's what it seems like, though. I'm very excited about that part of it, though. Very honestly, as soon as you started telling me that they have their own training workshops, and I'm looking forward to it. I really am. It's definitely something I'll have to keep in touch and let you know how it goes, because I'm definitely going to reach out and see what I can do about being one of those people, because I'd love to go share my story with other people, and get out there and talk to people, because I just love meeting new people in general. So it'll just be a great time for me. So, Lisa, I have a question for you. Now, Gretchen and I, when we interviewed, she asked me a question. She said, if my mental health had a song, what would your mental health song be?
Oh, my God. If my mental health had a song, probably, wow, I was not prepared for that at all. So I would say, and I can't think of his name right now, it's Jelly Roll. Jelly Roll's new song about mental health.
I love Jelly Roll. He's a fantastic artist. That's great. Yeah, everybody gets thrown off when I ask that question. They're like, "Man, I didn't see that coming." I'm like, "Oh yeah, that's a great one." Because Gretchen asked me, and so far we've had some interesting responses. I think Susan Snow told me hers was Rage Against the Machine. I was like, Susan, okay, because you never would expect it. She's like, "Hey, you're gonna laugh at me." I'm like, "I'm not gonna laugh at you, Susan. Just tell me what is it." She goes, "Rage Against the Machine." I'm like, "Yes, there we go. About time somebody said that." So, and then Lisa,
I think Jelly Rolls is "I Am Not Okay." That's the name of the song.
Yeah, that's a fantastic song. I love anything he does. It's just really great. I love his story too, about how him and Bunny are so different. Like they're so together, but they're so really just real. Her podcast is really great. Dumb Blonde is really great. I just love what she does. Brings those people in, has a real honest conversation with them, and things like that. So I have another question for you. If you could break the stigma about mental health, and it could be anything that you hear on a daily basis, or something that absolutely drives you crazy when people say it, what would it be?
Oh, hands down, no thought involved. I cannot handle it anymore when people say someone committed suicide. It is not the way that we're supposed to be talking about suicide. It gives people such an unfair stigma that attaches to them. It's language that has just a negative connotation right out the jump. It's not fair for that person's reputation, and it doesn't allow them the dignity that they deserve, because what they're dealing with is a mental illness that needs to be acknowledged and needs to be treated. So if I could completely obliterate the words committed suicide, I would.
And what would you have them say instead? That way I know how I better need to be referencing it to going forward.
Yeah, if someone took their life, someone died by suicide, you can say someone suicided. A lot of people say that now. I don't personally say it as much, but it is becoming more mainstream. So those are a bunch of different ways that you can say it, and you're not stigmatizing the person you're talking about.
Yeah, exactly. Well, thank you so much, Lisa. I appreciate you for giving us that information. I know that you and Gretchen had an episode talking about just that subject alone, and I think it's great that you guys are pushing for it. And you got me too. Now I'm gonna have to start correcting some people. Like, listen, they didn't commit. They had suicide. They died by suicide. Let's just call it what it was. It wasn't committed anything. They didn't commit a crime. Things like that. So, going forward, I'm gonna make better efforts to use the correct terminology. But thank you so much for coming, Lisa. Even though we had all these technical difficulties, through everything else, we've made it to the end of this episode. I appreciate you so much for being here. It was so great. I love what you're doing. Keep it going with HelpHUB. Like I said, I'm gonna add it to my toolkit here. I'm gonna let people know, hey, listen, if you need somewhere to be, that's the place to go. And I'm gonna be sending as many people as I can your way. Be like, hey, listen, have you guys checked out HelpHUB yet? This is the place to go, man. Definitely. So, but thank you so much, guys. Lisa, when do you guys have new episodes of your Survivors podcast, by the way?
Survivors Podcast drops a new episode every Wednesday at 3 a.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Awesome. I love it so much. That's so great. Guys, go check out Survivors Podcast. You know, her and Gretchen do a great one. And everybody has seen the show before Gretchen. Go check out the shit that goes on your head, man. It's just great. Lisa and Gretchen are doing this great. What Gretchen's doing is great in our own. Lisa in our own right mind is doing great things. You know, the new book's coming out soon. When's the new book dropping too? Is it coming out this week, or are we waiting for a little bit?
Oh, no. It has are just finishing the whole editorial process. It's got to go into layout and design and galleys and all that fun stuff. And there is a cover. I'm happy to say there's a cover, and we have a name. It's called Surviving, and it will be out in the spring of 2026.
Hey, there you go, guys. Spring 2026. I will definitely get the update link as soon as we find the exact date out. That way, Lisa will let me know. I'll definitely share it for everybody to know, guys. And well, this is going to wrap up this episode of Pete Versus Anxiety. Once again, Lisa, thank you so much for being here. This is great. I'm so glad you came and spent some time with us. You know, educated us on the right things. You know, and I look forward to what HelpHUB is going to bring to the picture later on down the road and things like that. Hopefully, that big announcement comes out soon so we can celebrate that in general. You know, and as always, thank you so much for what you do. I mean, you wear so many hats. That's why it says in the title, too many hats to put in this title, because Lisa has so many things going on. But thank you so much for being here, guys. I appreciate everybody tuning in. You're so welcome. Thank you for everybody tuning in this episode of Pete Versus Anxiety. I'm Pete Versus Anxiety on X, all the way down to TikTok. I'm on Spotify, all the way down to iHeartRadio, guys. And as I always say, it costs nothing, absolutely nothing to be kind to somebody. One kind act you could do to save somebody's life, or hell, you can make their day. I'm Pete Versus Anxiety, signing off saying, hey, don't ask how your day is today. Say, hey, how's your mental health today?